Class of 2014, congratulations. I'm just as eager to graduate as you are, so in the interest of time, I took the liberty of removing all puns from the following speech. If you're disappointed by this, feel free to take a short 5-minute nap. When Mr. Lawrence told me I'd been nominated as a graduation speaker, I was honestly terrified, and not only because I have a fear of being called to the principal's office. It's truly an honor to address such an illustrious gathering of my peers on this day, one of the biggest days of our lives thus far. Then I realized that if I mess up, I never have to see any of you ever again. Except my parents. Don't worry, Mom, I'm here to make you proud. So to prepare for this incredible opportunity, I did what many IMSA students do best. I spent time on the internet. Probably the most applicable material I found during my grueling research on the esteemed academic database YouTube was an Amy Poehler speech to the Harvard class of 2011, which was this: "Just because you're wicked smart doesn't mean you're better than me." True as that might be at IMSA, our uniqueness as an institution demands an examination of some of our unique experiences. Yet too much that is new and strange has happened in the past 3 years to describe without the use of metaphor. The comparison which jumps immediately to mind would be the epic Lord of the Rings saga by J.R.R. Tolkien. Yes, I'm going to talk about Lord of the Rings. You voted for me. You deal with it. We entered IMSA as tender young hobbits embarking on a marvelous journey. Like hobbits, we were small, ugly, and had hairy feet. As we had to leave our beloved Shire and enter a new land filled with Counter-Strike, strange beasts like the Mateo, entirely new concepts, places, and people, that year was scary. But daunting as it was also exhilarating to have a world suddenly expanded, filled with opportunity, adventure, and horrible grade deflation. I think we tend to romanticize sophomore year, which may be only natural when it's juxtaposed with junior year, because junior year is when the dark lord of college admissions began to loom over our heads. As our responsibilities grew, classes, standardized testing, and all the small stuff that we're not supposed to sweat swarmed us like orcs, attacking our sleep-deprived minds and our wavering senses of self-worth. At heart, many of us were still trying to find our ways, trying to find where we fit in the world as the adults that we've become, and this time, which would be hard anywhere, was harder at IMSA. Then came senior year, the final trek, the final battle. There were times when we stumbled and staggered, lost our ways, and stared aimlessly at the computer screen for hours instead of writing papers. But ultimately, we finished the quest. There was only a semester left for us to nurse our wounds and try to figure out what comes next. So, here we are, older, sadder, but a little bit wiser, ready to sail off into the West in search of new adventure. We are the explorers of a land which has now become just a little bit too small, seeking a new horizon to breach. This is the point at which it is vitally important that we remember, not all who wander are lost. All of you have made huge sacrifices to get here. It can be embittering to dwell upon the perceived failures of the past 3 years, asking yourselves if it was really worth it. It's ultimately your decision whether or not these sacrifices were worth it. But before you make up your mind, I'd like to bring this speech a little more down to earth and tell you about gastric brooding frogs. So, in the Australian rainforest, there used to be a small species of frog which rejected the amphibian tradition of abandoning their eggs to the cruel, harsh world. Instead, once the male frog had fertilized the eggs, the female would halt production of stomach acid and swallow them. That long-suffering mother frog would starve until it was time for her to finally vomit out her tiny baby frogs. Class of 2014, we are those baby gastric brooding frogs. No, think about it. It makes sense. We've spent the last 3 years of our life sloshing around a small, enclosed, sheltered place. We know each other like brother and sister. And, admit it, we go outdoors probably as much as those baby frogs did, which is never. Yet, finally, we've made it. It's time for us to emerge into the dazzling daylight as beautiful, graceful, mature frogs. These past 3 years have undoubtedly been hard, and we have all given up so much to make it through. IMSA has given us countless opportunities, but ironically, It has also opened up countless possibilities for regret. For those of you unfamiliar with the IMSA triangle, it's commonly said that you can only pick two of the following: sleep, work, or friends. In reality, the IMSA triangle should be more like an IMSA n-gon, which is a shape with infinite size, as there have always been far, far more for us to devote ourselves to, whether it be research or cultural shows, peer education or athletic competition, friendships or Bollywood movie marathons. It has been a blessing and a burden, being given so much possibility, and along with it, so much responsibility, meant that there was never enough time to do everything we wanted. Given all of the pressures we subjected ourselves to, IMSA felt overwhelming at times. It is hard to explore without fear of neglecting your commitments, fear of wasting time, fear of failure. So, now that I've shared with you all my obsession with Lord of the Rings and the wonders of the gastric brooding frog, I don't have much to say to you except this. As we move on to bigger worlds, don't limit yourself. Each one of us has unique aspirations, passions, and hobbies. Don't be afraid to explore them further or even pursue new ones, even if that seemingly comes at the cost of a career path. Live your life beyond IMSA without fear, because the past 3 years in the belly of the frog have given us the strength and the abilities to succeed wherever life takes us next. We are the people who will create new fields, the people who will put in the work to rise above, the people who will find it within themselves and put aside their fear to change the world and advance the human condition. So, class of 2014, your accomplishments and your potential have left me speechless. Just kidding, I just gave it. I just wanted to thank you all, IMSA class of 2014, for an amazing 3 years and a lifetime of inspiration.